Whoa, could Bitcoin actually get a bounce after retesting the top of this falling wedge right here? Or in fact, will we go significantly lower like at this point most people are predicting? Bitcoin reluctant to stay below this $9,100 level, but if we do, guys, we might actually, as we've been saying for weeks, be forming this potential right side of this inverse head and shoulders. And as well, some data showing that the $7,000 price mark is actually not far off, which would also perfectly line up with the completion of this right shoulder. Wow, and Bitcoin is dangerously close actually to falling out of this 3-month ascending channel here. What could that mean for Bitcoin's price? Well, we finally see a return of some volatility. Things are just getting juicier by the juice. Wow, and as well, it's very likely that here on this weekly chart we will finally see a break from this consolidation in the volume, and we will finally return to some very volatile price action very soon. And huge, we'll get into why this Bitcoin billionaire says an exponential Bitcoin price increase could actually be a disaster. This is actually extremely interesting, so I want to highlight some points there. Let's get juicing. Wow, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to an extremely new and exciting webisode. We have a lot to cover in today's video, and there's some very interesting things we're going to be talking about that don't have directly to Bitcoin's price this week, but some very interesting data, and as well, we are going to be taking a look at these short-term charts as well. Huge, you guys, so make sure to smash the dings, likes, comments, subscribes to enter for this ledger giveaway, and let's just jump into the data. So guys, one thing I wanted to highlight before we actually get into the actual chart here is allowing price targets to be retested here. So the most critical step when a stock price breaks a resistance level, old resistance becomes new support. Obviously, when a stock breaks a support level, old support becomes new resistance. In the majority of trades, the stock will test the level it has broken after the first couple of days. Be prepared for it. Okay, the reason I say that is because, guys, that's most likely what we're seeing here. And actually, I mean, exactly just a few days after this break, we're coming back to retest this. Now, I don't necessarily think it's very likely that we hold this, but we do have three so far 4-hour candles that have gotten strong bounces right at the top of this. Okay, so this is the falling wedge. We had that breakout and we failed right around like 9,700, which is that incredibly hard level to stay above, especially on the weekly chart. It's right here. It's been like months now where we have not gotten a weekly close in here. So we've been getting rejected here for months. So now we're retesting the top of this falling wedge. And we could be getting a bounce here, but guys, I'm also more inclined to believe, like I've been saying for weeks, that and what I want as well for the price to go down. Now, you see people around the space basically also agreeing with that sentiment, that price is most likely headed down in the short term, but in the midterm, most likely not. So with that, we're still below the 21 and 50-day moving averages as of the last 3 days, but we're well above the 200-day moving average, which is all the way down here at around 83. So the 83, 82 is my first big pullback area if we get a break out of this $8,800 level here. Without a doubt, I think we'll quickly move down to these levels. And guys, just to give you an illustration of this, you can see this would look beautiful if we actually did come down to at least probably the $7,000 range to form a right shoulder here of this potential inverse head and shoulder. Now again, this pattern is like at least 8 or 9 months, and by the time it's done, potentially like 10 months long. The reason I want this pullback to happen so badly is because I think it's exactly what would give us enough juice on these larger time frames. Especially this pattern's like 9, 10 months most likely by completion. This, in my opinion, would give us more than enough juice to break 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15K fairly quickly, okay, if we saw something like this. This pattern is exactly what would give us the momentum to do that. And conversely, I don't think we can just start heading to 12, 13, and 14K from here. This wouldn't make any sense on these charts. I just think it would be a much better setup if we did have one final pullback. It just doesn't make sense for me. I don't think Bitcoin has enough momentum right now to break 15K. So that's why I'm still sticking with, a pullback, a final pullback, and specifically a pretty substantial one, a few $1,000s. And then I think it would absolutely find support around these levels without a doubt. A lot of things are showing that, which we cover in a lot of videos. But I definitely think support would be found around these levels, okay? Mid 7,000s. I really don't think it would really go to the 6,000s, but it could easily wick down there. I don't think a lot of time would be spent there, though. Importantly here, we could be seeing that drop correlate here if we break about the $9,000 level, though, which also just lines up with a lot of these different charts here. This ascending channel for the past 3 months, if we broke that, if we broke 9,000, I think the drop could get pretty quick. But specifically, showing you on this chart, it's around like the 8,900, 8,850, 8,900, I think is a really good. As soon as we break like 8,850 at the lowest, then I would say, okay, I definitely think we're going to actually start this pullback to at least in a very quick move down to like the 81 or $8,200 level, and then hopefully continuing down to that mid 7,000s and forming a potential right shoulder here. Wow, and I want to cover this briefly by Joseph Young here on Cointelegraph. Next drop may be last time to get Bitcoin below 10,000 US dollars. Perfectly lines up with what I've been saying for a few weeks as well, but I want to get into detail of just a few things. It says here, price of Bitcoin is likely to head to the 7,000s, but it may be the last dip below 10,000 for Bitcoin, says one on-chain data analyst here, which is Cole Garner here on Twitter. He says technically we're in a bull market territory. He talks about breaking below the VWAP, the green level, is a juicy buy. Wow, I like his terminology there. Juicy buy. The dip opportunity could be the last BTFD below 10K ever. So traders are genuinely pessimistic towards the short term for Bitcoin here for 4 main reasons. Increasing selling pressure from miners, uncertainty in the stock market, huge one I think. Consolidation at a pivotal price point right around this $10,000 level, and then also declining volatility. Data from the Bitcoin options market. Today, the Bitcoin options market saw the largest expiration in history with 675 million worth of options. However, the price of BTC did not portray a big spike in volatility, which indicates most of the options were filled in that tight range between 9 and 10K. And as well, there's that hash ribbon I'm sure you guys have been hearing about for a few days here. A hash ribbon is a strong on-chain signal. It doesn't happen often, and he says here, Cole, I expect this to be the last one for a long time. And wow, this is very interesting. Turner Wright, billionaire, says an exponential Bitcoin price increase would be a disaster. So the only thing I want to cover here is this. The CEO pointed out that for Bitcoin price to skyrocket at this point, things would have to go terribly wrong in the financial system with disastrous impacts on your friends and family who are not invested in cryptocurrency. It says here, if your Bitcoin bet pays off, it will be cataclysmically destructive for the world, and that'll have an enormous consequence to many people we all know and care about who weren't hedged in Bitcoin. And so you almost don't want it to happen here. The billionaire also speculated the value of Bitcoin could reach $1 million or go to zero, which is a pretty arbitrary statement. However, very important to note, you guys. This man actually did invest back in 2010, and he became, he got millions and millions of dollars from his Bitcoin investment, so that's always interesting to hear as well. Wow, so I'm curious if you guys agree with that sentiment, basically, that our current climate with Bitcoin's price, I definitely just think it would be better if we saw another price drop. I know a lot of you guys are familiar, and you guys commented about Tony Vase saying about that Bitcoin will trade in between 6,000 and 10,000 US dollars for the rest of this year. So what he's saying is that Bitcoin, that's what he said, Bitcoin will trade in this like $4,000 window. It's pretty big, 6,000 to 10,000 for the next like 5 months basically. Now, people did note that Tone was also calling for a $1,000 Bitcoin, which, I mean, we all know it didn't get to that. It got to about like 3,100 or about 3,000 pretty quickly in a pretty quick move. But yeah, I just don't think it necessarily makes sense to make such bold predictions so far out there. The least accurate predictions I've ever seen are always like really long-term forecasts because the space and the price action is changing literally every day. So if you make a price prediction that's 6 months out, very often it's not even going to be close to accurate because so many things have changed, the climate, your idea. I mean, that's why cryptocurrency updates can basically come out every single day. That's why we do videos basically every day. That's why people post charts every single day, because things are changing daily, hourly, by the minute basically. So just my personal opinion on that, I don't think that Bitcoin will trade between 6 to 10,000 for the next 6 months. I think it's very likely that we break even 15K this year. I think that's very likely. Now, that is with one thing in mind, and that's that the overall global economy and the traditional stock correlation and the coupling of everything right now, because it seems very correlated. That's if all of those things don't come crumbling, which, I mean, I think a lot of people actually expect them to. So I think that the entire world, not just Bitcoin, but every asset class, every investment, and specifically people are most likely going to be coming into a very weird period. We already saw, I mean, 2020 has already been insane. 2020 has been probably one of the worst years in terms of globally, definitely in terms of news events, it's been one of the most catastrophic years I've ever lived through. Actually, probably the worst year that I've ever lived through. Personally, this year for me has been pretty good so far, but overall, it's been very bad in terms of, plague and I mean, just basically a lot of different things. So with that in mind, yeah, I could easily see something similar to this playing out, you guys. And that would give us a break clearly above 15K. I think it's very likely before the end of this year. Now, again, I just said that, you shouldn't make predictions that far out, which is what I just did. So again, that's why I make the videos every day, update them all the time. As of right now, I think that's a very likely scenario. But if anything changes, we can definitely come on here and update. To be a successful trader or investor, you don't need to be right that often. The main thing is just managing your risk and then acting appropriately when you need to. No trader is 100%. Traders aren't even like 80% accurate for the most part. Usually, if you can manage your risk appropriately, then you can still make more money than you lose. Wow, huge, guys. So as well, if you're looking for a new place to buy crypto, definitely check out the links in the description. Crypto.com app. Huge. We both get $50 free of MCO when you stake it, when you sign up. And as well, guys, this is our final week running our sale on T4 version 3. So if you want access to these charts, if you want access to a lot of trading tips and TA tips, you guys can see there's a fair amount of material in here, and there's going to be more added in version 4. So if you're interested, definitely check out the discount that we're running only for the rest of this month before T4 V4. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.